Thanks, Amy, and hello, everybody. It looks like I need to be able to share my screen. And while Amy's giving me the power here, I'll introduce myself. I'm Pamela Toshner. I am a lake biologist in 5 Northwest counties in Wisconsin, and I'm also the statewide lake and watershed protection specialist. So thank you all so much for being here today as we talk about the Shoreland evaluation tool, and we're going to have an emphasis on the partner organization feature. Before I get started, I just want to mention that Julia was pretty humble in her introduction because we basically lifted the information from Julia. She really supported us behind the scenes with Michigan's tool and the questions and the answers and the way we set up our tool. So thanks, Julia, for being here, and feel free to share the Michigan experience as we go. So we did our welcome and introductions, and I will share an overview of the background of the tool and how we got here. Then Sam will take over with a quick discussion and questions about the survey tool. And if you took it as a property owner, that would be your time to ask questions, although we're not going to get into the nuances of people's specific property features, because the tool is basically set up for a typical lakeshore property. Sometimes there might be like a really steep slope or a road between the house and the water, and people have real specific questions about that we can talk to you offline about those specific scenarios. Then Sam will share a step-by-step walkthrough of how to use the partner organization feature, and then we'll have wrap-up discussion and questions. And I'm sorry, because I hopped on like the last second here. I just want to say that Sam Blackburn is the current project manager of the tool. He came to DNR in April, and he's got an awesome research and sciencey background, and he's really good with the database stuff too. So we're very pleased to have Sam here today. Before we get started, just a quick few things about using Zoom. On the bottom left, and you all did it when you introduced yourselves, you can mute and unmute yourself. You can turn your camera on and off. During discussion, it's often nice to see people's faces because it feels more like a personal meeting. If at any time you have questions, there's a chat box down below, and you can put your question or comment in the chat. And then sometimes people like to use the reaction option, the little emoji icon down on the bottom. So if, for example, you had a question, you could raise your hand. Or if you like what you hear, you'll see like a thumbs up. Feel free to use those little features. Sam, Amy, and I are here today to chat with you. We also want to recognize our Healthy Lakes and Rivers team that's been spending the last couple of years developing this tool, working with the contractor in Michigan, and the work that Julia had done with the Michigan Shoreland Stewards Shoreland evaluation tool. So all these people are part of our Healthy Lakes and Rivers team. So a little background on the Shoreland evaluation tool itself. Several years ago, people had discovered the Michigan Shoreland Stewards version of it and had asked if we could do something similar in Wisconsin. And it took us a couple of years to get up to speed, but we were able to get a contract to work directly with the Michigan contractor to help build the tool. In the meantime, we do have some paper property evaluations or PDF property evaluations. So we try to integrate the Michigan version with some of our existing Wisconsin more form-based tools. And we now have this interactive smart survey, and hopefully you were able to test it out before today. We want to also recognize Wisconsin Lakes because this started off as a DNR effort, and we ran into some technical challenges along the way. It actually turned out to be a good thing because Wisconsin Lakes now owns the tool on behalf of folks in Wisconsin. And what that means is that when you share, if you choose to register and share your personal information, it's extra private because at DNR, we have public records laws. Wisconsin Lakes does not have those same laws. So it adds another layer of security and privacy to the information that is shared. It may be that in the future we update it again. There's certainly some room for improvement. Our current contract is finished, so we can't make major changes to the tool. But if you notice like terminology that doesn't make sense, or maybe there's a question that could use a better photo or a photo in the first place or some additional explanation, we're certainly open-minded to hearing that. We have started a wish list for a future version 2.0 though, because we want to continuously improve this down the road, and it might mean another contract to do some of those improvements. Amy or Sam, do you want to add anything overview wise that I may have missed here?
No, I think that's great.
Okay.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Okay. Just a quick walkthrough of the goals of the tool. We're hoping that just by taking the survey, it will raise awareness of shoreline health. Sometimes there's things people are doing with their shoreline properties management wise that they may not even realize could harm the lake. So we've tried to build in some information and some graphics to raise that awareness. The second bullet became especially important during COVID when site visits and personal, contact was really limited. The tool could serve as an alternative to a site visit, so people can at least get an initial sense of the types of projects they could do on their property. We certainly recommend trying to work with your county or local volunteer champions, maybe the Healthy Lakes and Rivers team members, to do potentially site visit work if you are interested in doing projects to better understand where exactly you might put a rain garden, for example, and how to size it. But the tool can be kind of a first crack at better understanding some of the best practices that may fit your property. We also wanted to tie this directly into Healthy Lakes and Rivers. We're fortunate in Wisconsin that we have sort of a simplified program with, online technical assistance and potential funding to do the suite of 5 Healthy Lakes and Rivers best practices. So fish sticks, rain gardens, native plantings, rock infiltration, and diversion. And the questions are set up in a way that it will direct you to some of those best practices depending how you answer. The fourth bullet point here, we want to give people the opportunity to evaluate their own properties and make it a normal thing that anyone can do, just to learn more about shoreline management and lake and river health. And then today we're really going to emphasize the water body scale outreach campaigns and possible data collection summaries that could be collected through the partner organization feature, which allows lake and river groups, counties, regional planning commissions to set up their own website within the shoreline evaluation tool, and potentially you can get access if property owners allow that access when they register to the responses. So you could reach out directly to your neighbors or other folks who might have taken the survey. And then I apologize, this is a blurry image here. But we don't want you to be discouraged by your shore, the purpose or score, excuse me, or your shore, but the purpose of the tool is to better understand sort of where your property may fit on the spectrum of lake and river management. And a lot of properties are going to be in that entry level category, and that's totally fine. We want to give you some tips or pointers on things you could do to maybe move up or move to the right on the spectrum. In our first webinar, some people didn't understand why they maybe didn't land in the protection category, and that category is really science-based, and it's going to be difficult for people to get a protection-based score because it's essentially protecting, wild, natural, and potentially undeveloped shorelines. So only about 10%, maybe max 10% or less of respondents will actually get a protection score. And that's okay, again, because like I said, that's our most natural shorelines. A lot of people more than 10% will land in enhancement. Most people are going to be in the restoration probably or enhancement category. And related to this is sometimes people may be managing their property in a way that complies with current shoreline zoning standards, but those shoreline zoning standards really are going to end up in the restoration category. Current shoreline zoning in Wisconsin isn't at the level it needs to be to protect habitat and water quality. So again, just to reiterate, the scores are based on sort of the science of lake and river protection, not necessarily the current regulations that are out there. So don't be discouraged. The tool is here to help you learn where you're at and help you sort of move to the right if you so choose. And with that, I will stop sharing and turn things over to Sam.
Great. Hi, everybody. Pamela gave me a little bit of an introduction earlier, but like she said, I'm doing a lot of the technical management for the Healthy Lakes Shoreland survey tool. I've only been at the DNR for a few months now, but I'm really excited to be here and work on the shoreline stuff. I'm also working on shoreline data that we've collected specifically from the DNR, by the DNR. And so it's really fun to be able to see both work with data collected by private individuals as well as through state surveys. So with that little bit of introduction about me, I'm going to jump in and just do some really basic introduction about how to get to the tool, and then just we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A about the survey tool itself before we jump into the specific partner organization features. So let me get my screen sharing. So you all should be seeing my screen. I'm currently on the Healthy Lakes, Wisconsin homepage. In order to get to our survey tool, you just click this link in the upper right. And once you're there, you're able to either create a new account, start just filling out the tool anonymously, or log in and return to a survey that you've already completed. Many of you may have already used the Answer Anonymously feature when you were checking out the tool before today's webinar, or you may, if you own property on the lake, you may have already registered for an account, which is wonderful. I'm going to just talk a little bit about one really important feature of registering for an account that you'll definitely want to communicate to your property owners who are a part of your organizations. So they definitely, want to fill out as much information here. Contact information is really useful in order for you to get in touch with them if you ever want to work with their responses. But what I want to pay particular attention to today is if you want to work with, if they want their data to be available to you, or if you are going to be able to see someone's information from their survey, they need to make sure and select your organization from this dropdown. I'm going to say that twice just because that's the, one of the biggest takeaways from today. That's really, really easy to miss. And I'll actually come back to it too, just to really reinforce the point. But when your property owners are registering for an account, make sure they need to register for an account. I'll say that if I haven't already. They have to register for an account in order for you to use their survey information at all. 2, they need to select your organization. So make sure that's a part of any communication you do to your property owners. Before we move on, I just want to pause and just check in terms of how many of you have checked out this tool at all, filled it out in any capacity, started responding to questions. You can go ahead and give me a raise hand in Zoom using the reactions button. That's probably the easiest way here, or a thumbs up is great. The raise hand feature is really useful in case you have questions throughout. All right, so it looks like about half, maybe half to a third have had a chance to check out the tool. So I will just open it up and show you a little bit what it looks like, just so you can get a sense. However, I would encourage you all to come back and explore, fill out the survey for yourself so you get a sense of all the questions that we ask. I'll just fill this out really quickly so we can get to the tool itself. I do see that there is a question from Linda in the chat, and I'll get to that in a second, once we've had a chance to actually look at the survey. So the survey questions are broken up into 3 different categories. We have upland, we have transition, and we have in water. The upland is asking questions about how you're managing your any buildings and your lawn. The transition asks more about your actual shoreline, and then in water is asking questions about if you have piers, if you have cleared any plants, that kind of thing. So as someone goes through, they just respond to the questions. They continue. And the cool part is that depending on your answers to one question, you will only be shown specific questions later. So if you respond, one of the questions is, do you have a pet? And if you have a pet that goes to the bathroom in your yard, and if you say no, we're not going to ask any further questions. But then if you say you do, then there are the follow-up questions about what do you do with your pet waste? It's really useful. Makes the survey just go a little smoother, so we're not asking any unnecessarily questions. So that's what the tool looks like. Again, I really encourage you to explore it yourself using the answer anonymously or registering for to save your results if you actually own property. So Linda, you asked, what if your lake association is not on the list? So that is something that we are going to be talking about today. Assuming that you all are engaged with one or more partner organizations, you'll need to be in touch with us in order for your organization or association to show up on that list. And we'll go over that in a lot of detail later. If you're a property owner, just a generic property owner, I'm gonna have to just refresh this and clear out, aren't I? That's fun. Hold on for just a second. I need to reopen our tool so that it's not continuing to show me the survey because I want to register. And here's my screen back. All right. So if you're a property owner, great, okay. It really wants me to finish. Great, all right. Just a sec while I have another window open so it's not fully clearing out my information. This is actually a nice feature because if someone starts filling out anonymously, even if they, jump around tabs, come back, they're still able to save whatever progress they've made when they register for an account. Okay, share this again. Third time's the charm. So you were asking, if you're a property owner and you're looking at this, you aren't seeing an association or organization for the lake you live on, you can just say a partner organization is not available. If you know one doesn't exist, or if you know there is one, but it's not available, you can say, I do not know if one is available. And also you can always choose not to share your results with a lake organization at any point. But so yeah, does that answer your question, Linda? I'm not even sure Linda is still on the call. Oh yeah, there you are. I see. Okay, great. Cool. Sort of. Linda, you can feel free and unmute if you want to.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
So the drop down, you said, okay, if it, how does a partner organization, how does an association become a partner organization, I guess is the question I had.
Well, you're in the right place because that is what this call is entirely about.
Okay.
The bulk of this webinar is going to be discussing how to set up a partner organization. This call is intended for people in partner organizations, and we create an account for you to log in. We create an organization, like an empty organization profile for you. And throughout this webinar, I'll be talking about how to build out that organization and what you can do with it.
Great, thank you.
That's what, yep. All right, any other questions about the survey itself before we jump into the partner organization features? Feel free and just unmute, or you can raise a hand. It's up to you. All right. Well, if you think of anything, feel free and put it in the chat. And definitely, I encourage you all to come back later and explore the tool more fully. Let me just pull up my notes because I had to close them. Just a second. Okay. And we're back. Nope, that's not it. There we go. I apologize, folks. I'm just having a lot of trouble this morning. All right, there we go. We're back. So yeah, we are on the homepage of the Shoreland tool. We've talked about how folks who register need to make sure and select your organization. Now we will go into the features of once you have a partner organization. So we'll just click our partner organization button at the bottom of that page. Once you have your organization page set up, they will be displayed on our map, as well as listed just on a list here for anyone who uses the tool to explore and potentially read more about your organization. So you can, you'll be able to, and I'll show you how to do this later, add a logo, add contact information, add some text. You can add even more text than this if you'd like. It's just a great way to have a lot of information about your organization, and folks can always, visit a website if you provide a link to one. And again, we'll go over how to build this in just a second. I just want you to see what it looks like to someone who is just a property owner navigating to this page. There's a lot of useful information for them. However, we're going to talk specifically to you all as folks at partner organizations. So you can just click the login button here, and you will use the login information that you either I provided to you, or if you don't have an account and you would like one, please reach out to me after the webinar. I'll be sending out a follow-up email with all of the information we cover in the webinar today. And you can just reply to that. You'll have my contact info. So again, if you don't have an account as a partner organization and you would like one, reach out and we'll get you set up and ready to go. So we'll just use our little test person here. Once you log in, you are taken to a little landing page. If this is your first time logging in, we'll want to go to editing our contact info just so that we can change our password. Because when I create your account, you'll have just a really simple, easy to guess password, and you'll definitely want to change that to something more complicated. So you'll go to this profile, you will scroll down. You can enter information for yourself here if you'd like. It's not going to be displayed to anyone on the website at any time. If you have an account, it means you've already been in touch with us. So you can really feel free to leave all of this contact information blank here. But if this is your first time or at any time you want to change your password, that's the really important part of this page. So let me just say that again. To change your password, you log in, edit your personal contact info, scroll to the bottom of the page, add a new password, write that password again, and you will hit submit. That's really all you need to do with this page. We don't use the messaging service of the website at this time, so you don't need to worry about those boxes there. This will just say that you're a Lake organization manager, and that's a internal security part of the website, so you can ignore that. Really, all that matters on this page is that your name and email are correct. And that you can change your password here if you'd like. I'll hit submit, even though I didn't make any changes, and that will save it. So now we'll go back to our organization landing page. Before we start working with our partner organization information, does anyone have any questions about what I've covered so far? Accounts, password changing, that kind of thing. Feel free and raise a hand or just unmute and shout them out.
I put a link in the chat. I think there's a link on the main page for creating an account.
Yeah, so if you go to that link, it just takes you to the bottom of the page here. And that really just says to email me. I'm the one who gets these emails. So it'll accomplish, if you email that, you can go through that passage, or you can just email me directly, and I'll make sure and provide you'll have my contact information, because you'll all get a follow-up email from me. So either one works. This doesn't, there's no way to just create one on your own. We're managing that a little more closely. So.
Sam, how does it work when you have more than one person that you want to have access this organizational login?
Yeah, so each person will have their own account and login, and they'll all have access to the same organization. The organization exists, and then there are accounts to access it. All right. Great. So yeah, let's talk about how editing an organization's information works. So when you click on that, work with your organization information, you'll have a list of probably just one, but potentially multiple organizations that your account is attached to, as well as all the survey responses for property owners who have listed that organization as their organization. So let's start with setting up your partner organization or a partner organization's profile using that button right there. So this is, I think all the fields are pretty explanatory, but I'll just walk through them just so we're all on the same page. The organization name and summary statement are what will show up on that list of property, or on that list of partner organizations that we were looking at before. So these two boxes are what will be displayed right here. So association name and description. Then everything else on that page is what will be displayed once they actually click on it. So the contact information, where you want it to show up on a map, all your phones, emails, website definitely is really important so that they can find out more information or join your organization if they would like. We have lots of even more in-depth text. You can add images here, or if you have a theme song or something, you can add it here. That will be displayed. If you are linked to another, for example, if you're a county level organization and you have a connection to specific lake level organizations, you can link them here. I'm not sure if that will be relevant for too many of you, but it's a nice little feature. And then this one, the organization type, you can leave that as is, no need to mess with it. We're working on just removing that. It's an internal feature, but I know some of you who are particularly eagle-eyed will notice it and wonder what it does. It doesn't do anything, but just leave it set as partner organization. So before we leave, the last really important thing on this page, as important as making sure property owners select your lake association or organization, is that while this box save as draft is checked, your organization will not show up to the public or to property owners. So no one will be able to select it, and it won't show up in the list of property. Sorry, misspeaking a lot today. While this button is checked, your organization will not show up in the list of partner organizations on the partner organization page and will not be selectable by property owners. So make sure as soon as you've entered information on this page to uncheck this box to make it available for use. If this box is checked, you won't be getting any property owner information and really won't have access to any of the neat features of the tool. So make sure this box is unchecked. I'm leaving this checked just because it's our little practice organization. When you're done, make sure and hit save. Otherwise, changes will not be saved. And at any point, if you want to see how all the information you're entering on this form looks to the public, you can just hit the preview this page button. And that will open where I want to move this around. What do we do? Okay. That will just open a preview of how it looks. Right now, I don't have a lot of information listed, so it's just a link. But it will be prettier since you all have a lot more to talk about your actual organizations. Yeah, and thanks, Julia, for answering that question. Yeah, so once you get a personal account from me, I will also set up the organization account and make sure they are linked, and you'll be good to go from there. Any other questions about working with your organization information before we move on? Yeah, Linda.
So you do have to, who's ever the contact person for the association, you do have to someone does have to contact you once the partner organization information has been completed so that it's linked by you. Is that how it works?
No, so once you've been in touch with me, I'll create this page, but it'll be empty.
Okay.
Once you have access to that, you're free to make it public on your own. So I have to create both your account and the organization page and link them together. But from there, you'll be set free and be able to do everything you want with it and add all the information.
So did you just say you had to create my account, my personal account, as a property owner, or?
Nope, not as a property owner, as a partner organization editor.
Got it.
Yeah,
thanks.
property owners can create them on their own. Partner organizations we're controlling a little more tightly. Okay, Keith is asking, can the tool be used by an organization to complete a lake-wide survey by boat example? Unfortunately not. This is aimed at property owners. The organization features are meant to work with property owner data, not to complete any lake level assessments. If you can aggregate and work with the property owner filled out data, but it's not designed for a lake level survey. It's designed for a property level survey, and there's a lot of specific questions about properties that wouldn't really translate well to a whole lake.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will be showing
it.
you the mapping in just a second, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. Any other questions? All right, let's move on to working with your respondents. So at this point, you've filled out all the information about your organization. You've unchecked the Save as Draft box, and you've had survey respondents start to register and fill out the survey, making sure to select your organization in the dropdown. And I will say, since some of you may be wondering, survey respondents, property owners, can only select one organization at a time. And so that's just a limitation of the tool. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that at this time. It might come in the future. But the way we're handling that is if you're like say a county level organization, and you want to be able to see respondent data for all of the different lakes. If someone is responding and they want to, they'll send their survey data to a lake level organization, we can give a county level organization access to the lake level organization, even though a property owner is just selecting the lake organization in the drop down. I know this is a little confusing. I wouldn't worry about it too much unless you're basically you only need to worry about that if you're a part of an organization that works with multiple lakes that have their own organizations. I don't know if that applies to any of you. If you're with an organization that is just one lake, everything will work great. Someone who is responding will just select your organization. Everything will be smooth and simple for you. I just wanted to preempt that question. Again, it may not apply to any of you. The last webinar, we had a couple folks that did have questions about that. But we do have a way to make it work with people belonging to multiple organizations. It just is a little bit complicated, and we'll talk it through with you on an individual level if you are wondering about that. So definitely get in touch with me if you're a part of an organization where you'll need to be working with multiple lakes, and we'll get you set up with that. All right, we're going to jump into working with respondent data. That was a bit of an aside, but an important one for those of you that are in that situation. So as Keith was asking, can your respondents be mapped? Yes, and they do it. We do it automatically for you. This is a little looks a little spread out because we've had multiple people testing on this example lake. But if you're actually looking at one lake organization's details, it'll be zoomed in fully. You'll have all your respondents more tightly packed because people live closer together. And if you want to see where any specific respondent is on the map, you can just click this handy dandy map button, and it'll jump the map right to where that person lives, which is a pretty neat feature. On this page, we also have the contact info, or just names and location and date of survey filled out for you. Then we have a numerical score here. I think we may be working with our contractor to change that to be a the category score, just to make it a little more user friendly. If we're not able to do that, if it's outside the bounds of our maintenance, we'll be definitely providing you a list of the score numerical breakdowns for you to make that a little more user friendly. So just, I know that score is a little confusing right now since we don't know what the number means, but we'll provide you a guide to help you interpret the numerical score, make that a little more useful to you when working with respondent data. So before we jump into looking at a specific property owner, this property owner survey responses, we're going to, I just want to show you what these two different download data buttons do. So one is a more abbreviated spreadsheet. This just downloads the contact information and the score there it is. Are you all seeing a spreadsheet right now? Yep, okay, great. So this is what the download contact info button gets you. It's pretty limited. It's just the contact info for everyone who responded and their score. And we're working on adding the score category to this. The other spreadsheet, the download answers spreadsheet, gives you a full spreadsheet of all of the apologize, let me skip that. Here we are. All right, that just shows you the responses to every single question for every person in the survey. It includes all of the information that the other spreadsheet does. So in 98% of cases, you'll just be, I recommend just downloading the spreadsheet if you need to work with respondent data offline. Since in most cases, you'll probably want to actually be comparing how your property owners have responded to specific questions. Just it's a little more in depth, a little more, I think a little more useful to you all. All right, I'm gonna jump back. Yeah, exactly. It's really important for us to get those categories on there for you. Just it'll make it a lot more user friendly. So hopefully that will be available to you soon. And in the meantime, we'll have those score and a score interpretation for you. So let me get back to our tool. All right. And we're back here. So let's look at a particular respondent's survey responses. So you do that just by clicking this blue button here for any of our folks. We'll look at Pamela just because she's on the call. So when you open up a property owner, you see their contact information, as well as their actual score level. And then what's really interesting is, and really useful, is that you can actually open the report that they received when they completed the survey. So you can see exactly what they saw once they completed the survey. You can see the description of the category, any areas of improvement that were provided to them. And you can print the report if you'd like. This is handy in case anyone has any questions about the report they received. You can look at and see exactly what they were seeing. Then you can also look through their answers in a little more detail, especially if you see any change, if they make changes to their survey, you can see their responses over time. And then you can also, if you need to just check and see what the question itself looked like, you can just click on the question and we'll show you what the question was and you can see exactly what they saw when they were responding to the question. In some cases, this is a neat feature that I want to show. We provide photo examples for some cases where we ask about percentage. That's not it. Pamela or Amy, do you remember the question I was using as an example of photos in the past? That one? No.
I can't remember. Sorry. It was one
Yeah,
of
no, that's fine. This one, I believe. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So in cases where we ask for a percentage, we provide examples of what a 10% disturbance versus more than 35% disturbance would look like. There are a few where we have diagrams that are in a specific format that the website won't display right here. That's why you're seeing that when a question won't load, like you may have seen for this. The question works fine in the survey. It's just in the way we're previewing it here. We can't display the particular file type. In this case, it's for the impervious surface area, it's a really nice image that talks about how to calculate percent impervious surface on your property. It's really useful. Regardless, this is just a really, if you want to go super in depth with someone who has filled out the survey, this is the way to do it. See, it looks like we have a question. Certain seasons or times of year for shoreline owners to use the tool. Pamela, do we have a recommendation? I know you were more involved with creating the tool originally.
We do not have a recommendation. That's a good question, though, and we certainly maybe should think about one. I mean, a lot of the questions are related to rain and natural vegetation cover, so it would be during the growing season, I would say. It'd be tough, to do in winter, for example. And part of the reason we were doing these partner organization webinars is in hopes that if you promote them or experiment with the tool, you'll have time yet this year to get folks out there, before the snow flies. But I appreciate that question. I think our team can think about it more and provide a little guidance on it. I think as long as the vegetation is thriving, the survey is legit.
So at this point, we have gotten through all the material that I was hoping to cover today. And now I think it's a great time we can open up for questions. Anything that I didn't cover in enough detail or anything that has been, on your mind while we've been working through these partner organization features, feel free and raise a hand or just unmute yourself. No matter how small the question, tiniest little thing, let's answer it.
This is Phil Stens, and I sent a direct message to Amy with regard to a assessment or lake inventory that was done in 2011 in Washera County. And this was a whole lake survey or assessment, and I'll put the link in the group chat. And I was wondering in the future, and I heard you say, Sam, after somebody else's question, if that this was a homeowner or single shoreline assessment versus the study that was done in Washera County, which was a whole lake. Currently, Washera County is in the process of updating that data. They have a drone that they take around lake by lake, 32 lakes in the county, and they are in the process of updating that information. So just wanted to share this with the group, and potentially if you or Pam have any comments on it.
I had just mentioned, and Pamela, maybe you can say a little bit more about this, that I think that maybe this tool, since it is self-reported information from property owners, that it could possibly be used to compare to a whole lake survey that Phil is talking about, just to see if there are, if there's consistency or if there's a big discrepancy between the two. It just might be good data to compare. But maybe you want to talk a little bit more about that, Pamela.
Yeah, so Sam is actually working internally at DNR on our professional. There's a DNR shoreline habitat monitoring protocol that's intended for professional use. And it sounds like that's something similar to what was done on your lake, Phil. And when it was completed, it was before the DNR protocol existed. And one of the things we'd like to do in the future is kind of compare. They're apples and oranges, essentially, because the scale is different. It's a private property parcel scale versus a whole lake inventory. But I think Sam has the skills. I'm putting Sam on the spot a little bit. We would like to kind of see if the results are saying similar things. And I know Sam is working with the professional protocol to provide sort of recommendations through that monitoring approach as well. I didn't really answer the question, Phil, and it sounds like you're doing a drone-based protocol, which would be even different. So the different scales, different purposes, but you hope that they're kind of providing similar results, and we don't know that for certain yet. We need to dig into it. And I think I'll defer to Sam real quick on that.
Yeah, I think once we have more respondents to our survey, we'll hopefully be able to compare. I think, and that's part of why we're so excited about having you all and your organizations starting to put the survey out there, is that hopefully we'll have folks who are on one of the lakes that we've assessed, and we can actually start breaking down the comparison. But at this point, we don't have a way to compare, just because we haven't been able to put this survey into use yet. So I guess stay tuned, and we'll have more info for you as we get more responses.
And yeah, and I would just add one quick thing, is that after you do that whole water body inventory, like the example you shared, Phil, there's an educational piece there to, talk to your property owners and local communities about the results. A next step would definitely be to encourage them to take the individual parcel tool that we're talking about today, so they can learn what exactly they can do on their property. So it's a little bit of a nested approach.
Yeah, thank you for all the responses. We have an upcoming Labor Day Lake District meeting, and we'll for sure add that to the discussion. So I appreciate everybody's responses.
I'm going to add just a little bit from a Michigan perspective. This was one of our goals, to utilize this individual program with our lake-based watershed plans as well. We have quite a few, or I shouldn't say quite a few, handful of lakes that have implemented and developed an overall lake-based watershed plan that includes a shoreline inventory, like a whole lake inventory, where there's a specific protocol. And then there is a score on the protocol that is created, and most of them are being, the ones that are in the watershed plans are being done on an individual parcel basis, but there are some doing on like 1,000-foot stretch that are being mapped. And then the goal is then from that perspective, then that outreach goes and saying, hey, you know, here's your score based on the shoreline inventory, and kind of you can, some of them are mapped and publicly available on map. You can see like the stretch, is it red, yellow, or green, and kind of where your property falls. And then you as an individual then would go and take the steward survey to get more information. And the goal is then to identify areas where you can make improvements or maintain that level of healthy shoreland as well. So we are trying to marry those two together, slowly but surely, but it is happening here.
Yeah, that's good to hear, Julia. That's exciting. Hopefully we will be in a place to do that in a few years. Any other questions from the group?
Sam, I see there was one. Oh, you answered it. Sorry, answered Tony's question.
Yeah, he was asking about the difference between symbols in the survey respondents. And I haven't been able to find out the difference from what I can tell, but we'll see if the contract team can tell us, since they're the ones who did it. So I'll try and include that in a follow-up when we know. All right, well, if we don't have any more questions, I will be sending out a follow-up email with a slide deck covering all the information we went over today. You'll have my contact information if you need to create a partner organization account. And when I do that, I will also create the organization page for you to fill out, and you'll be able to get set up for your organization. And then you can also email me if you have any other questions about using the tool or getting set up for the tool. If you have specific questions about how the survey itself is laid out, you can definitely reach out to me, and I'll bring in Amy and Pamela, and we can get you some more information about the specific survey. Otherwise, yeah, so I actually don't have a DNR phone, so I don't have a work phone, unfortunately, for you to be able to reach me. So email is going to be the best place for you to be able to get in touch with me, and you'll have that contact. I'll be a lot faster responding to email, but unfortunately, yeah, I don't have a work phone that I can give out to you all in order for you to get in touch. But I'm very responsive via email, and you'll be able to get responses from me there. So yeah, I would. Oh, go ahead, Pamela.
Well, I just wanted to add one thing that didn't come up. This tool is, it's entirely voluntary to take it. And if you partner organizations that have access to personal responses, and again, the person taking the survey has to allow that to happen, but the responses are not intended by any means to be used for like enforcement or regulatory purposes. And we say that on the website, and I don't think anybody would do that, but I just want to reiterate that it's voluntary, non-regulatory. And we might include a little code of conduct or something like that when you set up the partner organization feature, just to, so people go through that commitment process to work with people in a voluntary way to help our lakes and rivers and shorelands, and not use it for tattling or anything like that. And again, the information is private and people have to choose to allow the access.
So that's a segue. I have a quick question on just selling this to people. I think what I would say when they ask, and people will ask, what's the source? Who created this? And I think you covered it in the beginning, but just let me reiterate to see if this is a pretty good way to say it. But it's a partner effort between the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources and Wisconsin Lakes. Is that probably the best way to say it?
Yeah, I would say it's a Wisconsin Lakes partnership effort, which is what you described, as well as Extension Lakes. But the key piece is it's a Wisconsin Lakes owns it.
Okay, I'm always sensitive when selling these things to lakeshore owners. If, let's face it, if government's involved, there's a little bit less, or perhaps a little bit more resistance, maybe is the way to say it. So that's why I'm asking the question.
Well, it's an excellent question, and I will share that the vast majority of people who have taken the survey have done so anonymously. So I think your observation is panning out in the way people take the survey. But we're hoping that partner organizations will be a more, trusted group versus it coming from like DNR especially. And if there were a way on the website to kind of emphasize the Wisconsin Lakes ownership, we'd be certainly open to ideas.
I will say, when you actually go to the website, if you didn't know that it was DNR sponsored, you'd have to really read the fine print at the bottom. It really is the homepage, just as I look at it now. I'm not sharing my screen, unfortunately, but it doesn't really, it doesn't talk about the DNR until you get to the bottom, and it's listed as a partner. But I think the way the website's laid out is it's not being presented as a government effort as much as a Wisconsin Lakes and organization effort.
So if you take the survey anonymously, you can't come back and look at your data, can you?
Nope.
Right. So an individual probably should register.
Yep, that's the thinking.
I have a quick question because I can't remember, Sam. If someone decides to register but says, I don't want to share my data, they can share it later, correct?
Yep. Yeah, at
Okay.
any point you can add or change what partner organization can see your survey responses.
So that might be something that organizations let people know, right? Say, hey, register. If you're not sure you want to share your data, just check that you don't want to. And then if you decide later you want to share, you can, because it will be saved. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, all right. I think we'll wrap up then. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Really appreciate you being interested in our Shoreland survey tool, and look for an email from me today or tomorrow morning.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. It was great. Thank you.